Namaste. So often we have shared this, not just a thought but an experience, that the mother's prayers and meditations are an amazing document. If somebody were to, at least personally for me, who has, I can say this having read entire works of Sri Aurobindo and the mother and most of the major disciples, if somebody was to ask me, tell me one book that I can read or should read, one book only, which will help me to steer through life, I'll have a choice between Savitri and prayers and meditation. But in all likelihood, I'll end up recommending prayers and meditation because it's a very simple way she has revealed to us. Savitri acts directly, it enters the inner being. You need a certain kind of opening, no doubt about it. But prayers and meditation, it's like every which way. It enters through the mind, enters through the heart, enters through the life experiences. So today we read something of the mother's journey, some portions of her journey as she is coming from all the way from Paris to India to meet Sri Aurobindo. Now we all have undertaken journeys and we know how we sit in the uh, we sit in the train or flight or whatever, and wherever minds are. So it is the same way she's also undertaking a journey, except that she's taking a journey on the ship instead of coming through air or train or any other medium. Now, the difference between the life of a yogi and the life of an ordinary life is not that they are doing different things. This is a misconception. It has come because we have turned yoga into very specialized techniques. Specialized techniques have a certain advantage of giving you a quick result in a certain direction. But the disadvantage is that they lose contact with life as it evolves organically. How life evolves organically? It evolves through various contacts, sensory, intellectual, emotional, every which way. That's how life evolves. It doesn't cut you into parts. This mental, this okay for understanding. This is mental, this is sentimental, this is emotional, this is physical. It is okay for understanding things, it has its purpose. But in real life, all these strands are intertwined. So, how are we to really, what should be our inner state? So, here, repeatedly, the mother emphasizes in one of her Mahavakyas, one of the sentences which I think both mother and is there in Sri Aurobindo as well as mother's handwriting, mother's own written works, is that from the standpoint of yoga, it is not what one does, but how one does it that is important. Now, this how is not about outward, but about inner. So, when the physical education department started, then people wanted to keep a special section for Hatha yoga, asanas. That's a yoga ashram after all. So physical education department must have elaborate Hatha yoga. If you go there, you will see instead elaborate description of how the muscles work, how they develop. You'll be surprised. Go once and see about each part of the body. You'll have a very detailed understanding of how they work, how each of the for every equipment they will explain. So it's Yogasana is also one of the things that you can opt for. But when mother was asked about it, she says, from our experience, we have found that any exercise done with a yogic attitude becomes yoga. She says that. She says it's physical exercises. You don't need to do a specialized exercise. You can do the same exercise which you are doing every day, but with the right consciousness. She gives the example of a blacksmith who constantly uses the bellow to heat up the fire and uses the hammer. So they develop their muscles in one part of the being, but they're not conscious. So it doesn't awaken the consciousness of the body because they're doing it as a job. But if you do the same thing with the awareness, with the consciousness that you want to awaken consciousness, then the whole thing changes. So she gives a very beautiful example that if you climb up and down the stairs and you do it consciously. Now this is something we all do. pick up a glass of milk or water, give it to somebody. And I think this was the idea in ancient India. You see that everything is done with such an elaborate, sometimes it became too elaborate. So, namaste, there was a way of doing namaste. It was not casual hi. The idea was do everything consciously. This was called as sishtachar, vyavhar, outward conduct had also to be done in a way that, is expressing the deity who is within. Even your dress you wear, the way you walk, all these things. If you really go into the elaborate aspects of the ancient Indian scriptures and the way they had organized life. But the problem was it became too mechanical after a while when people start doing it. Oh, we have to do namaste like this, then you lose the heart. so it should be a beautiful combination of head, heart, understanding, awareness. So here, through a simple prayer, which is written when she is on the boat, we can see what really all life is yoga means. So when we go in a train, I can say this, there are two kinds of people. One who order the meals and it comes for them. Other who carry the meals. Now those who carry the meals, there are two types. One is who are your meal, my 2-3 persons family, that meal. But there is another kind who ask, will you share it? Would you like to have it? Where this sense of sharing things, the sense of being part of a larger family, not just your immediate family, that is there. Now with mother, constantly we find it. And she went to an extent, that's how she's the universal mother, where it was not just human beings, not just her family, but the whole world as her family. Now this whole world is not just human beings. We speak about human unity. But the whole world means including the bird and beast and plants and everything, even matter. So that is how, because she lived this life, she created the dream project called Auroville. That let's live as truly one family. But this one family is not just family of human beings, but the totality. So in this prayer, there are a number of prayers which, are like this. Very indicative. We know that one of the prayer is that when she is, changing the shape and she feels for those who are left behind and she suffers with their suffering. Normally, see how shallow our emotions run when we leave people behind and they say there are tears in their eyes and, we also for a moment feel, but we are waiting when they will go. And then we sit and we are in their own world, and those who are left behind, they cry, especially with parents, it happens. But here, when she feels their suffering, she reveals to us that what to do when you bodies are separated and you suffer. She says, discover that oneness inside. She gives us a beautiful sutra for all situations. And this one is, which we are going to read today. I think this one we have read. On board the Kagamaru, March 7th. This we have already read. So we'll read March 8th, 1914. So the sun is rising. And what does she pray? In front of this calm sunrise, which turned all within me into silence and peace. This is the difference how we respond to the everyday events. Sun comes every day, wakes us up every day. But for most people, they wake up to the call of the WhatsApp. Still others, they wake up to the, what is my schedule today? To still others, they wake up to the daily chores of life. To still others, they wake up with a headache and problems of life. But that's not the way we start a day. She has several times indicated when you start your day, start with a gratitude. And it's so beautiful. Just it takes few minutes. Just sit down and start the day with gratitude. Your sleep may have been miserable, doesn't matter. But just this simple thing, and she says gratitude that I have given another opportunity to progress. See what a way to set the ball rolling. So here when the sunrise has come, she experiences that silence and peace. Even a few moments of that is so wonderful. At the moment when I grew conscious of thee, and thou alone wast living in me. So first thing is when we wake up, before we wish good morning to 100 people, let's wish good morning, Ma. Just stay. It doesn't need much time actually. If you have practiced it, it needs a few seconds. Ma, and feel her smiling in the heart. That's it. And so beautiful. This part of yoga can be practiced anywhere. You don't have to be in ashram or any special place. Ma. So she says, I grew conscious of thee and thou alone wast living in me. Now she is next step. You see, now next step is, okay, I'll wish good morning messages. But here what she is doing, something much more beautiful. It seemed to me that I adopted all the inhabitants of this ship. So when she wakes up, she experiences this wonderful presence within, and then she takes all the inhabitants. Mark the words inhabitants. Not all just human beings. Inhabitants mean everything. There may be a bird sitting somewhere perched up. There may be rats somewhere. All the inhabitants. At one place he says even of the sea. All the creatures. And envelop them in an equal love. And that so in each one of them something of thy consciousness would awake. What she is wishing, we wish good morning. What do we say? Have a wonderful day. It can mean a very egoistically wonderful day. May you arrive at success. But the only success of life is the awakening of the divine consciousness. So she envelops people with a love, sends love to everyone. Very often people complain, I don't feel love and nobody loves me. It means you really don't love anyone. And second is that, how do you love? Give this love to all creatures. Then it will increase. The energy of love will not increase if the less you give, the less you receive. So after a time, the little you have becomes a pool. And when, like any pool, when the water does not run through, it will become spoiled. That's the perennial fact of life. If you let the things flow. So one has to flow them. Some people shut themselves unnaturally inside or in a room and they think they are doing yoga. Yoga is not done like that. Sure, Bindu, even in the room, he was just entire ocean like compassion reaching to all the worlds. And same with the mother. Everything she was giving constantly. And that's how the energy grows. Any energy of life. You give knowledge, knowledge will grow. You give people happiness, your happiness will grow. You give love, love will grow. So this is the law of life. So she is praying that in each one of them, something of thy consciousness would awake. Not often had I felt so strongly thy divine power and thy invincible light. And once again, total was my confidence and unmixed my joyful surrender. So some people will say it's a beautiful experience. Why is she writing it? Now when we write, we make a more active dynamic contact. Have you seen that when you're just mentalizing and just saying things to mother or whatever way you want to address to God, and when you come out you say, I have spoken. What did you speak? Now I don't remember. But when you are writing, you have concretized and crystallized it. So it's very beautiful. It's a beautiful way to every day commune with the divine. Have a small little prayer diary where you write. It's not that if you say in the heart, divine won't listen, but it's for your good. There is another reason. So when there are only two places where things can get rooted. One is up in the truth, where there is the original root, and second is in matter. This is the secret of matter. If you don't root them in matter, they are always subject to dispersion. So to root them in matter, you need to concretize it. So what happens when it's at the level of thought? It's still in the mind. Some little brain is stirring, but still it's in the mind. But when you write, you receive by the brain, you transmit through the hands, the nerves, the eyes, and then you express through words. So it becomes something concrete. To make something concrete is so important. That's why mother gives some of the techniques also. If some thoughts are disturbing you or something, she says, write it on a piece of paper. Then you tear it away and put it into fire. Now why tear it away? Why write first and then tear it away? Because otherwise it all remains here. Oh, mother, I am offering it to you, offering it to you. But it's all in the head, going on in the head. But when you write it, you have first crystallized it, then you have tone it with the strong will that I want it out of my system. So here she is writing to the Lord very simply that my heart was filled with a joyful surrender. O thou who relievest all suffering and disperses all ignorance. And look at this word now. O thou, the supreme healer. So every day she is reminding us who is the healer, ultimate healer. So in Indian thought, you have 3 levels of cause and effect. Some time back, somebody asked me, I heard that you were sick. Nothing. I just had half a day, some vomiting, and you know how things spread if you just take 1 hour off. So I said, no, I was fine. I just had a little vomiting because of, what was the cause? So then I took a little dig. I said, 3 levels of causes, which one you want to know? So he said, what causes? I said, immediate cause, intermediate cause, ultimate cause. So he said all 3. So I said, immediate cause, infinitesimal organisms, which we call as bacteria or virus. Intermediate cause, the complex play of forces. Ultimate cause, the infinite. I said, now you decide. Just got a smiley of laughter. I had 3 levels of causes. So, 3 levels of healing. Immediate healing is with some medicine which you may take. Intermediate healing is try to discover what is the disharmony inside, the play of forces, what opened the doors to illness. All 3 can be done. And ideally, it's good to become conscious. What opened the doors? Things like that. And the ultimate healer, final healer is the supreme healer, is the divine. So and they don't cancel each other, this idea. But yes, he is the supreme healer. So if we really abandon to him, he has his own ways. But his method may be homeopathic, not allopathic. So the difference, Sri Aurobindo says, yogic force acts in a homeopathic way. So what is the difference? Now, allopathy, how does it heal? It suppresses the symptoms. You have a fever. Now, fever may just be a way to get rid of toxins, purificatory process. Now, you don't have fever. You say, Doctor Saab, kya magical dawai diya hai? Unfortunately, the doctors get the credit for somebody who has discovered the medicine and somebody who did a research and found. You have just remembered and written. But nevertheless, okay. Sometimes doctors can speak well and that helps. So, but this is the allopathic way. Now, when you suppress the symptoms, it's not that healing is not taking place, your body is still healing. Ultimately, it is the body which heals. But homeopathic way is different. Body will heal. But here, homeopathic way is sometimes the real cause hidden in subconscious will come out. And then the divine will clear it. So, this is the divine way of healing. Now, many people can't bear it because they want instant effect. McDonald's sage. I prayed 2 days, I am praying to mother, but my fever is going on to 101, now it is 102, 103. Maybe the doctors were right. Then one has to learn to trust and surrender. But if one cannot, then take both. You take the medicine and invoke the divine grace. And also see inside if there are some doors which I am opening constantly. So here she is saying, O thou who relievest all suffering and disperses all ignorance, O thou the supreme healer, be constantly present on this boat. Doesn't matter, people want to know, is there a doctor going along with? Be constantly present on this boat. In the heart of those whom it shelters, that once again thy glory may be manifested. I'm telling you, this is something very wonderful. If ever you have you have to look after a clinic or a place of healing, or maybe with people in the house, just do this every night with a little prayer. Ma, I am going to sleep, but you are awake. Take care of them. Then in the morning, mother, take care of them. And we carry so much burden. I am the person. So divine says, okay, try. Is something so beautiful. It should be incorporated actually, but you can't do it by incorporating it. But it should be there in the heart of everybody. When I had come here, my impression was that this is how people would be starting the work. And there was initially something like a ritual where, but then it becomes ritual where people come together but it's still a good thing. Everywhere it should be in any department that before you start work, everybody when you open a department for 2 minutes just stay quiet and invoke the presence, then go about, and then when you close, whoever is the last person offers a thanksgiving. This is the work. So here she is traveling on the boat. So what she is doing, Supreme Healer, be present constantly amongst us and let thy glory be manifested. So this is so wonderful, and that's why in ashram this is the system. When people go to a picnic, when they go anywhere, you go there to the samadhi, there is a concentration, and people tell actually, they write initially, they would come and tell the mother, I am going, we'll be starting at this time, we'll return at this time. So the mother would listen to everything. She didn't say, what has this got to do with yoga? Just go inside and no. All life is yoga. Who all are going? The list would be given to her with names. These are the people who are going. Okay, good. Because then she would do something very special in her own way which we don't understand. We don't understand the ways of the divine. So you must have seen that there is a place near tennis ground, no? Where people go for Asthi Visarjan. So when children wanted to take a bath and go sea swimming, now sea here is very rough, jellyfishes, sea snakes, all of them are there. So that area she had marked out and put a special formation that this area is like a safe area. Now divine can make everything safe, but then you will interfere with the law of evolution. If you make everything safe for everybody, then human beings, the evolution requires us to go through that. Unfortunately, if we could have trust, then everything would be safe. But she had marked that area, that's a safe area. Now, same thing one can do by right attitude anywhere. But this is where she calls the divine presence in the boat. Same thing we can do wherever we are. May your presence be here. And then sail. So when we go in a train, when we go in a flight, and she has said later on in her conversations that, in fact she said with a very interesting story. She said there was a couple, so they would, whenever they would go into whatever thing, there would be a tragedy which will strike, but they will not, they will escape. So people thought they are very lucky. She said no, they are the ones who are bringing these forces. She says that on the other hand, if there is one person in a group, this based on this experience, that if there is one person in a collective life, in a travel, who is open to the grace and invoke, that one person can avert the tragedy. The story of Udar Pinto. Udar Pinto had not even invoked, he was sleeping in the train. And the train suddenly met with an accident. And nobody died. And it stopped with a big thud. And there were some people who were nearby. They saw literally the train as if jumped a couple of feet and then landed with a thud on the rails and then came to a screeching halt. So Udar also got up. Then he asked the mother when he went back, Mother, you intervened, no? Said yes, laughed and said yes, but what to do? You didn't tell me the details. He had not told her where he will be there. So the principle was even like you say, I will be in bogie number S2, like that precision. It's not that in general I am traveling by this train. I remember these kind of incidents even with me. But this is, Udar Das, amazing. So he says that, she said, I didn't know, but I was cautious. There was no time. And suddenly, because in a disciple, she puts an emanation of herself that warns her even before something is going to happen. So she rushed, but before, it was like a split second. And everybody was saved because she just saved the whole train. So I've seen once, my father, there was a fire in the coach, second AC. And he was a man who was a bhakta with total faith. And I had given him a blessing packet, but the blessing packet was very strange. I found it in a place where things were being burnt. And suddenly my eyes fell there and I saw that the mother's picture is not burnt, but all around the envelope is burnt. So I picked it up. I managed to somehow reach there that much and take out the blessing packet. And when my father that very evening or something he was leaving, I gave him that blessing packet. I said, keep it with you. Exactly, there was a fire in the coach same day. Same day means next day as he was traveling this long journey. And then the train was stopped, everybody's coming down. He had that blind faith. He said, nah, I'll stay here. राम जी रक्षा करेंगे. ये कहना नहीं चाहिए, बट राम जी बोल के वो माता जी का ब्लेसिंग पैकेट लेके he just held on to that. And everything, obviously, my mom wouldn't come down. She said, if something happens to you, I would also be there with you. Those were the good old days. Now it will be like, Buddha, tu to akal se gaya. Akal se gaya. And everything, nothing happened. So these are things which are real. When you really pray and aspire, countless experiences. I myself had scooter meeting with accidents. And before the accident, you get the warning inside. And warning is don't react, don't react. I don't know for what I should not react. There's the word going on in the heart. What I should not react to. Don't react, don't react. And then suddenly a truck comes and hits. And nothing happens. Coolly. I don't even know whether I have fallen or I have just chitak karke, I have gone and standing. And military truck, and he comes down and I pick up the scooter. But because that constant thing, don't react, there was so much peace, tremendous peace. And then I started the scooter, those days, kick scooter, Bajaj, and it started. So he said, sorry sir, army people, because I was in uniform. I said, no problem. It's not your fault. Because I knew that this was something which was coming the way, and for whatever reason, I said, not your fault. So sure, you're fine. I said, yeah, nothing. Neither scooter nor myself, nothing. So many times, and even in a travel, just aspire. So you see this simple prayer. She is giving us a way to live when we travel in a group. You can say, why not? One person can say. It's not that you have to be the captain or the leader or anything. Ma, I'm going to picnic. I'm traveling. These are the people with me. Be with us. This is the journey. Tell her all the details, including coach number, bogie number. Yeah. If the train gets delayed, it's happened with me. I've seen this number of times, even about the train, flights. So just pray, aspire, invoke the presence, and she is calling the divine, especially in the form of the supreme healer. When you go by the boat, one of the things which is most makes you miserable is the seasickness. People become sick. It's literally called seasickness. Even if they have nothing wrong with them, they will become sick. She is calling the supreme healer and saying, you be there. Even on the journey, she has another problem when the boat is on the, likely to be, there is a big storm, and then she sees that there are denizens, beings in the vital world, which they take joy. For them, if a ship or boat is coming, they say, we have a toy. They start playing with you. And if you have fear, then they will come in hordes. So she goes there and she goes in a cabin, stretches herself, enters down, and she sees these entities which are creating chaos. So what does she do? She doesn't say, okay, Dhanush Van leke, nothing. She just tells them, be peaceful, quiet. And she pacifies them. So they become very peaceful, docile creatures and go away. So there is a whole world which we don't know and don't understand. This is not about being emotional and prayer. It's about a law of life which she is revealing. This is Sanatan Dharma, where you brought God into every aspect and sphere of life. Whether you eat, you drink, you meet friends, everything. Everything from birth to death in India, ancient India, life was a sacerdoce. It was like a not ritual, but spiritual. That we turn it into ritual is a different thing. Namkaran, first food, writing, marriage, everything was absolutely through and through. Not like anything and everything doesn't matter. So this is the subtle law. I'll read this prayer again. March 8th, 1914. In front of this calm sunrise which turned all within me into silence and peace, at the moment When I grew conscious of thee and thou alone wast living in me, then the prayer is most powerful. When you are fully conscious of the Lord. One is a very ritualistic prayer, and then first you establish the presence here. It seemed to me that I adopted all the inhabitants of this ship and enveloped them in an equal love, and that so in each one of them something of thy consciousness would awake, because they have to respond to the protection and everything. Not often had I felt so strongly thy divine power and thy invincible light, and once again total was my confidence and unmixed my joyful surrender. O thou who relievest all suffering and disperses all ignorance, O thou the supreme healer, be constantly present on this boat in the heart of those whom it shelters, that once again thy glory may be manifested. That is the idea of Griha Pravesh. It's not a party. It's now people come and invoke the presence. Also because there are many formations, left behind in the land and those people who have worked there. So you invoke the presence. After that, everything is wonderful. Namaste.